Chapter 6432. Recently he has teamed up with Yang Dingtian to attack the formations in the double-faced divine palace. After Jian Wushuang heard her description, his heart moved, and he was sure that it was Jiang Anai herself. Quasi-mortal emperor? Jian Wushuang smiled slightly and said, "It seems that I left a scourge back then. I didn't expect to be able to eradicate the grass after 10,000 years of retreat." But Xiang Yang interjected thoughtlessly. "Could it be Xiao Jiang and I you're talking about?" Cough. Jian Wushuang covered his mouth and coughed, staring and said, "It's so intimate, she's my wife." She was young back then. Xiang Yang felt aggrieved, because he didn't know what Jian Wushuang was doing. Now it's okay to go directly to Jiang and I'm still wasting time here talking to a little girl. But Jian Wushuang made a heartbroken look. I don't know if he is acting, or if he is really heartbroken. Seeing this, Huang Yuer was overjoyed, and quickly threw out an olive branch. Senior is not hopeless. This quasi-immortal emperor is currently in the ancient domain of the sea, and our ancient court is gathering strong people to take it down in one fell swoop. If the senior wants revenge, why not follow my team of strong men in Guting to encircle and suppress? Huang Yuer said in surprise. Jian Wushuang, however, seemed a little embarrassed with fear in his eyes, and said euphemistically, "Daoist friends have said that she is a quasi-immortal emperor, and she can fight against emperors. I am afraid that I will be beheaded by her sword if I go to such a small role." "Senior, don't worry. She was besieged by my father and the two emperors together a few days ago, and she was already injured, and my father still has a way to find her hiding place. At this time, he is gathering the former to encircle and suppress her, and at the same time, together with her there is also Yang Dingtian and his group." Huang Yuer looked very excited. Because of him this time, not only can she recruit the 3 Taoist monarchs for nothing, but she doesn't have to promise benefits. When her father and senior brother find out, they will definitely reward her. But seeing the fear in Jian Wushuang's eyes, he sneered from the bottom of his heart, feeling that Jian Wushuang's domineering appearance just now was all just pretending. As soon as he heard the immortal Emperor Zhuan, he was instantly too scared to speak. After hesitating for a while, Jian Wushuang said, "Okay, then I will ask my friend to pick you up. But I need to explain in advance that although I have just left the level, I have injuries on my body, and I can't take the lead. I hope my friend understands." "No problem." Huang Yuer's respectful attitude was gone when she came here, because she felt that she had seen through Jian Wushuang and a Taoist monarch's fear of death. "There were several times of ridicule in my heart." After arranging the 3 of Jian Wushuang to the temple on the top of the mountain, Huang Yuer went to the temple where his father was. "I am going to tell my father about this." As soon as she approached her father's temple, she heard a roar from inside. "A bunch of trash. A bunch of trash. I asked you to find some Dao Lords, but you couldn't find them, so why don't you let me lick my face and go to Guting to dispatch the Dao Lords?" The people below were all crying, and did not dare to refute. There is no way. Guting's battle line is very long now. Of the 17 ancient domains, the 7 ancient domains that were completely taken down are not bad. Only an ordinary emperor is enough to sit in charge. Daojun is 3 or 5 assistants to the left. Most of the rest are local powerhouses. Even local strongmen were conscripted into Guting. Most of the powerhouses were dispatched to the 2 ancient domains at the forefront, because that's where the real meat grinder is. The Secovering ancient domain is the safest place at the back. But there is a Holy Land Emperor sealed here. The 3rd-tier Emperor, the Moon Shadow Emperor, is needed to sit in charge. It was fine for thousands of years ago, but recently, 2 troublesome characters appeared. Although they are not emperors, they are even more difficult to deal with than emperors. It made him very anxious. There are 2 emperors in the Temple of Heaven. One is responsible for sealing the emperor's formation, and the other is responsible for guarding the Temple of Heaven. Emperor Moon Shadow is the Holy Land Cultivator, who is in charge of eradicating disturbances. The 3 emperors complement each other. The other 2 are all right. Only Emperor Moon Shadow is the most troublesome. The Secovering ancient domain covers the overall situation. Once the formation of sealing the emperor is destroyed, Gu Ting's adventure this time may be in vain. Therefore, it is necessary to stabilize the situation and wipe out the monks in the Holy Land. But now there are simply not enough manpower. You can only recruit people yourself. Dao Jun under his command suffered many casualties due to the battle. Now there are only 6 left. There are also some Taoist monarchs who are in Guting or on the front line, sitting in some strongholds. There is no way to dispatch it at all. The last way is to dispatch the Taoist lord in the ancient court. What reason can be used to dispatch it? Annihilate Dao Jun? He is an emperor, can't be wiped out? This is simply a shame. To wipe out Dao Jun, he can't finish it with a single emperor, and he has to dispatch manpower. What would Gu Ting think of him from now on? He Moon Shadow Monarch. At least he can be ranked in the top 10 of Guting. Even he only lacked 1 Chaos Supreme Treasure, and he was able to rank in the top 5. Gu Ting is now in charge of the house, is the 3rd generation of Gu Ting's Lord Jian Tiandadi. There is not much difference in strength between him and Emperor Jiantian. So he also wants to be the master of the ancient court. So 10,000 years ago, he took the initiative to go to the double-faced shrine. As a result, it was fine if the Chaos Supreme Treasure was not obtained and was injured by a Taoist lord. So he took advantage of the situation to sit in the ancient domain of covering the sea. The front is good, thinking about planning a new site. After all, the territory laid down needs someone to sit in charge. He sits in the sea-covering ancient domain, the center of the front line, and was expected to become the #1 person to attack the Holy Land. In the end, because of the appearance of Yang Dingtian and that quasi-immortal emperor, he was trapped in the sea-covering ancient region, and he was given a position of eliminating internal troubles. The top spot in the Battle of the Holy Land was given to a dragon, who became an emperor in the ancient devil era. He is not convinced. After all, the other party has lived for hundreds of thousands of years, and his strength has not improved at all. He is a 3rd-tier top emperor like him. But he is a little different. That is, he is still young and has the opportunity to become a 4th-rank emperor in the future. There are only 2 4th-tier emperors in the entire ancient court. The first is the Lord of Yuanzhong. The other is the 3-talented immortal emperor. The strength of these 2 people is the same as that of the emperor they suppressed. They are all tier 4 emperors. Back then, the Holy Land boasted that the 3 emperors of the Holy Land would be able to fight all the emperors of Guting if the Holy Master did not come out. This is not bragging, but really can be done. Only the strength of the Holy Lord surpassed the 1st level. No one can shake it, but now that the Holy Master is gone, they have to think carefully. In one fell swoop to win the battle of orthodoxy. This is the belief of everyone in Guting. But at this time, the great cause was not accomplished, but it was burnt out by the 2 Taoist monarchs. Moon Shadow Emperor, sitting at the top, looked very tired. Seeing his daughter walking in at this moment, he forced a smile and said softly, "Yuer, why are you here?" "Father." Huang Yuer glanced at her senior brothers and quickly said, "I heard that my father is recruiting Dao Jun, but I have a few candidates here." Chapter 64-33. As soon as these words came out, the disciples of Emperor Moon Shadow all raised their heads to look at their little junior sister. Although the little junior sister looks SOSO and has a weird personality, she seems to be their savior at this moment. "Oh," Emperor Moon Shadow said in surprise. "Do you have a candidate?" "That's right. Didn't my father arrange for me to be in charge of the Sacred Mountain? Just now there are 3 Taoist monarchs in the Sacred Mountain. They are all strong men who retreated 10,000 years ago. They have just left the customs." Huang Yue replied truthfully. Emperor Moon Shadow, on the other hand, seemed a little cautious and asked, "Is the person reliable?" Although he was eager to recruit people, he didn't want everyone. "If it has something to do with the Holy Land, isn't that a minefield for yourself?" Huang Yue was very confident about this and said, "There is absolutely no problem with people, because the 3 of them have an enmity with any quasi-immortal emperor, and it is a blood feud." She repeated what Jian Wuxia had said before. After Moon Shadow Emperor heard about it, he immediately burst into joy and praised, "Yuer, you have done a good job this time, much better than your useless brothers. Quickly invite those 3 Tao lords here. As long as they can be used this time, even if you make a great contribution, you don't have to guard the mountain anymore, and you can go directly to work in the city lord's mansion. Thank you, Father, Huang Yuer said excitedly. Then he left the temple and went to where Jian Wushuang and the others stayed. Jian Wushuang and the others heard Huang Yuer's voice before their buttocks were warm. Senior Wushuang, my father invites you to come over. Huang Yuer's voice seemed very excited. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang got up quickly and said, Emperor Moon Shadow wants to see us? Huang Yuer nodded and said, my father is waiting in the temple. Let's go there quickly. After speaking, he took Jian Wushuang and others to the temple just now. Enter the temple. Moon Shadow Emperor put on a majestic look. Start to examine Jian Wushuang and others. The 3 of Jian Wushuang naturally have no problem, although all 3 of them practiced the mystic eye technique. Before he retreated, he gave the 2 of them a complete mystic eye technique. In 10,000 years, they have also practiced to the second turn, but the second turn has not been completed. The first turn is the easiest, and it can be cultivated to perfection in a few decades, but the second turn needs more than 10,000 times more time. This has nothing to do with talent or understanding. On the contrary, Jiu Chen's speed of cultivation is not bad, because he has already understood it. Xiang Yang can't do it. He has never been exposed to the secret method in this area, and it is more difficult to practice it for the first time. But fortunately, they all reached the second turn, burning up, not weaker than the rumored Jiang and I. Of course, no one will reveal his true strength. Just like now, the strengths exposed by the 3 are all at the level of the peak Taoist monarch. Asked about their identities. This Jian Wushuang has already been compiled. Void Walker. Literal meaning. Refers to monks who practice in the void. Has been wandering in the void, rarely appearing in the ancient world. Naturally, not many people know him. This is the safest method. It also prevents the other party from asking about flaws. Apart from his background identity, what is most relevant to Emperor Moon Shadow is Jiang Nis' identity. Returning to Dijuan, I had an enmity with her mother in the void. I had no choice but to kill her mother's elder brother when I snatched treasures in a dangerous place. Later, a friend of mine who lived and died killed her mother again, leaving only love. She was alone and hadn't been found yet, but this time she came out of seclusion, thinking about cutting grass and roots, but I didn't expect that she has become a quasi-immortal emperor. When Jian Wushuang said, an indescribable expression appeared on his face. Both Xiang Yang and Jiu Chen were at a loss. They both felt that Jian Wushuang was too careful, making up stories so well. It's just an emperor, there's no need to coax him like this. You can go directly to Jiang and I. Why are you putting in so much effort now? The only possibility is to continue to test Jiang and I. Not to mention that Jian Wushuang had this idea. Among them, the only one with sufficient talent was Jiang and I. After training, he will achieve great success in the future, with 100,000 times of divine power, which is enough to help him compete against the God Eye clan powerhouse who has cultivated to the 4th rank of God Eye mystic art. After Moon Shadow Emperor heard his explanation, although he found it unbelievable, he still believed it. Immediately said that this time they would help them cut the grass and roots. As for the treasure or something, there is no promise. As expected of father and daughter, they are very calculating. Knowing that they want revenge, it is considered a cooperative relationship. Then it is to set a date and set off in a month to hunt down Yang Dingtian and Jiang and I. Jian Wushuang readily agreed. Then he left the temple with Jiu Chen and Xiang Yang. The 3 of them did not settle down in the holy mountain, but went to an inn in the Temple of Heaven. There are a lot of people here, and it is best to inquire about Jiang and I. The rumors are not far from what Huang Yuer said. The only difference is that Huang Yuer prefers Gu Ting. Most of the monks in the inn are more objective. From the tone of these people, he could find that Jiang and I had a good reputation. It didn't kill innocent people indiscriminately. It just dealt with the strong people in Guting. Jian Wushuang was curious. Why did Jiang and I fight against Gu Ting? Originally, he thought that Jiang and I would join a certain party, but after inquiring, Jiang and I did not join any party. It's just a cooperation with Yang Dingtian. Could it be that she met Mr. Xiaoling during these 10,000 years calm? Then she was killed by the people of Guting? Jian Wushuang guessed from the bottom of his heart. The reason why they entered the Temple of Heaven was naturally not just to inquire about Jiang and I. Instead, inquire about some treasures about Hedao. Now there is no shortage of other treasures. The lack is the treasure of harmony. I learned from Huang Yuer that there was an auction in Tiantan City recently. It was an emperor in the ancient court who came to hold the meeting. At the same time, it also carries a lot of treasures. Originally, this kind of auction would only be held in the original 36 ancient domains of Guting. But this time it was because the battle on the front line was too fierce, and some Taoist monarchs urgently needed some treasures under the tempering of life and death. Jian Wushuang still has some messy treasures on his body. It can be regarded as some capital to help Jiuchen and Xiangyang see if there are any suitable treasures. So they took the two of them into the inn in Temple of Heaven, waiting for the auction to start. After a few days, Huang Yuer came in person and took them to the biggest auction in Guting. The location is set up in the city lord's mansion. Because of the auction, thousands of Taoist monarchs have gathered in the Temple of Heaven in the past few days. They are all coming for the auction. I heard that this time there are many treasures that assist the left and the way, and one of them is about demonstrating the way. Huang Yuer said as she walked. It didn't take long to arrive at the city lord's mansion. Outside the door, people come and go. Everyone is a Taoist. This is the minimum standard. The real fairy can't afford it even when it comes. But Huang Yuer was an exception, because it was her senior brother who held the auction this time. He is also a disciple of Emperor Moonshadow, Emperor Duobao. The strength is mediocre, only a second-tier emperor, but there are many treasures. Chapter 6434. He didn't get it by taking risks, but the price difference he earned through holding an auction. There are also some that are collected at a low price. Its wealth is no less than that of a third-tier peak emperor. This guy must have a 7-aperture exquisite heart. Jian Wushuang secretly admired him. Then he followed Huang Yuer into the city lord's mansion. The city lord's mansion is huge. It's just that the city lord of the city lord's mansion was gone. The current city lord is an emperor. But the emperor did not appear. Everything is arranged by Emperor Duobao. Huang Yuer led them into a small courtyard, which was connected to a cave world. Entering the courtyard, one enters a small world. The world is small. The layout is like a coliseum. Rows of huge thrones surround the central stage. At this time, thousands of Taoist monarchs have gathered. Huang Yuer led the three of them, and passed from the bottom, and saw Huang Yuer said a few words to a cold-looking Taoist. The cold-looking Taoist immediately beamed with joy, and waved to Jian Wushuang and the three of them. You guys. 3. Go to the first row, there are still a few seats there. Thank you, Jian Wushuang said politely, and walked over with Jiuchen and Xiangyang. After Huang Yuer said a few words to that cruel Taoist, she also followed. Xiangyang couldn't help but sigh with emotion. It's different if there is a relationship. I just saw how many Taoist monarchs you have, and there is no place to come haha. I don't know much. Jiuchen complained. Jian Wushuang kept silent, but probed around with his thoughts. Only then did I realize that the Emperor Duobao hadn't come yet. He didn't want to waste time either. When the other party came, he could just go and check the treasure in the other party's hand. At that time, he will know all the treasures, and he can tell at a glance whether they are there or not. If there is no suitable one, just take Jiuchen and Xiangyang away. The venue was extremely chaotic. Anything and everything about what's going on at the front can be heard. There are still many Holy Land cultivators in Hongya ancient region. These guys are really stubborn. They have resisted for thousands of years, and they haven't been wiped out yet. You don't know that the mortal realm near the Holy Land is the real magic kiln. Many monks in the Holy Land came to support it. If it wasn't for the Emperor's support, the ancient mortal realm might fall again. Everyone chatted and sighed. At the beginning, he said boldly that he wanted to take down the ancient world under the jurisdiction of the entire Holy Land. But now it's only half of it, and it's a bit powerless. Even if the top combat power has some advantages, But in terms of the strength of the backbone, Gu Ting's single combat power is far inferior to Holy Land. There are as many peak Dao lords in the Holy Land as a cow's hair, 10 Dao lords and 1 Dao Gyuting. How could they bear it? It was those emperors who took the lead so they could fight. In fact, until now many people are clear that the two are not fighting to the death, but merging with each other. Holy Land has the advantage of Holy Land. Gyuting also has the advantages of Gyuting. The advantage of the Holy Land is to cultivate a complete inheritance of the Divine Eye. You can practice from the first turn. Then practice the second turn. The speed will be very fast. Therefore, most of the Taoist monarchs in the Holy Land are peak Taoist monarchs, because they have cultivated a complete inheritance. But it is also difficult for them to get along. So there are very few emperors. As for Gu Ting, he majored in the origin at the level of the true immortal. And when he arrived at the Taoist Lord, he worked hard to join the Tao. After the emperor, they don't know either. But from Daijin's battle, it is also clear that Dijuan is practicing the mystic technique of divine eyes. And they all started to practice from the first sequence. The first sequence is the first turn. This is because of the appearance of the Holy Land, the emperors have long known. Only by cultivating from the first round can one hope to practice the second round. Once the second turn is completed, they can also be comparable to the Holy Master. The reason why the Holy Master is so powerful is that he is already in the third round of cultivation. Once the third round of cultivation is successful, it will be a top powerhouse. That Ilwan is this realm. Jian Wushuang sat below, listening to the discussion of these people, nodded silently. From the war, after realizing the advantages of both sides, they merged with each other. At this time, the Holy Master is not around, which is the best time. Jian Wushuang even felt that the Holy Master was deliberately hiding, and wanted the Gyuting to merge with the 36 ancient domains where the Holy Land was located. Only in this way, the ancient world will become stronger. If it is as he guessed, then it can only be said that the structure of this Holy Master is far beyond that of the Emperor. Of course, this is just speculation, and he can't guarantee that the opponent's situation is really that big. Watching the power he carefully cultivated be taken away by Gu Ting. It is impossible for those who value orthodoxy not to care about power. Maybe the other party has other plans. Jian Wushuang was thinking in his heart. At this time, a figure with precious light descended from the sky. The whole venue also suddenly fell silent. The figure in Baoguang is a middle-aged man with a smile on his face that makes people feel refreshed. Everyone who sees him will have an inexplicable sense of trust. This person is Emperor Duobao. He landed firmly on the high platform, raised his hands and cupped his fists and said, "Have a drink, fellow Taoists. I am here at the Duobao auction." At this moment, all Taoist monarchs also stood up in unison. "I have seen Emperor Duobao." Everyone spoke in unison, and their voices were orderly. After some courtesies, the atmosphere on the field became active again. The auction will officially start from now on. This auction will be divided into 3 stages. As before, the treasures in the first stage have a reserve price of 100 million immortal crystals. After Duobao Emperor finished speaking, he raised his hand and took out a large row of treasures. The serial number is marked on the top. The first treasure, the ancient suicide note, is an experience left by an ancient demon about the physical body. The starting price is 100 million immortal crystals. Duobao Dijuan shouted loudly. This is sort of an appetizer. The ancient suicide note is not a precious treasure, but it can be bought and left for the family to cultivate the younger generation. It is also a good treasure. All of a sudden, many Dao lords with families began to bid. Jian Wushuang has no interest in this. As soon as his thoughts moved, he began to look at the treasures on Emperor Duobao. This guy actually has an innate treasure. Jian Wushuang was shocked from the bottom of his heart. Not only that, but the opponent's strength was also underestimated by the outside world. It is definitely not an ordinary second-order emperor. Rather, he is an out-and-out Tier 4 emperor. And he also has a congenital treasure. It is not Chaos Supreme treasure. It is an innate treasure from the ancient world. Didn't it mean that all the innate treasures are in the hands of the Holy Master? It seems that this guy has some connection with the Holy Master. Jian Wushuang sighed from the bottom of his heart. Sure enough, Holy Master was not as simple as he thought. The dark hand can actually touch the level of the Emperor. I am afraid that everything in the outside world is a false image now. In Gyuding, this is definitely not the only backer. This kind of internal struggle, Jian Wushuang can only admire, nothing else. Then he began to ponder over the treasures on the opponent. Chapter 64-35. Among the treasures that can be put up for auction, there are 27 kinds of treasures that are suitable for Taoism. Jiuchen walked 10,000 ways. Xiangyang took the ultimate way. One needs a lot of treasure, any type will do. The other is focused on one kind. He must take at least 80% of these 27 types of treasures. Of the 80% treasures, only 30% can be used by Xiangyang, and the remaining 50% are treasures used by Jiuchen. Once these treasures are taken down, the chances of the two of them getting together will be higher. Once the two of them become emperors, their strength will start with Tier 4 emperors. After a little training later, the achievement is definitely not a problem. Definitely a great help. It is worthwhile to spend money on training Jian Wushuang now. The key is that he doesn't have much money on him now. There are about 20 billion immortal crystals, which is far from enough. So sell some treasures. For example, the Deep Sea Legacy Pearl. This pair of Daojun is a treasure against the sky, and the price is definitely more than 50 billion. He also has several sets of peak treasures. It can also be sold for a lot of money, but still not enough, because half of the treasures of Hadao are in the second stage, and the starting price at that stage is 1 billion immortal crystals. The upper limit is hard to say, and it is normal to exceed 10 billion. Jian Wushuang thought quickly. At present, there are many precious treasures on him, but they are not for sale. For example, those who watch the universe in the gray jar, and the leaves of the world. The god of time and space will these two out. The key is that this world can't sell it, and he won't sell it either. The world leaf is a major guarantee for improving combat power at present, not only for defense, but also for attack. Moreover, it is also a kind of life plant that can cultivate sex. It will definitely be of great use in the future. It seems that the only thing left is to squeeze the wool. Jian Wushuang sighed. But this is also in the plan. Sooner or later, we must attack Yunhai Guardian and others. And it doesn't matter if it is earlier or later. Immediately, he took out a mustard seed and handed it to Jiuchen. Buy all the treasures of Hadao, and sell the treasures if you don't have enough money. I will go to the 9 prison tower with all my strength, and you two will watch here. Jian Wushuang said through voice transmission. Jiuchen and Xiangyang saw that he had started selling treasures, and their expressions were somewhat uneasy. Before the two could speak, Jian Wushuang closed his eyes. 9 prison towers, the third world. In the core origin, I don't know when a large temple has been built here. Each temple is also marked with its own title. For example, the Dharma protector of Yunhai hung a plaque of Yunhai Temple. After Jian Wushuang saw it, he felt a little funny. It is estimated that these people really take this place as their home, and after occupying it in advance, they will not be robbed when they get the time. In addition to their temple, there is also this magnificent attic. Jianga. No need to ask, this is what is prepared for Jian Wushuang. He was not polite either, directly entered the jianga, and then sent a sound transmission to the 4 guardians. And Chu Xiong, who is almost invincible among true immortals, summoned 5 people to come, not for anything else but for treasures. These 5 people definitely have a lot of belongings. The value of a true immortal is usually not high, and if you count your own treasures, 300 million is not bad. But Chu Xiong is different. He has several rare treasures on his body. Jian Wushuang has felt it before, each worth tens of billions. There are also the worth of the 4 major protectors, which add up to more than 100 billion. This has to be used. Of course, there are also 3 silver puppets, and a god-destroying soldier. This stuff is useful later on. If he takes it out, he will be recognized by others, and it will be difficult to explain it at that time. So I can only put my hand into the pockets of everyone. When summoning 5 people, he took out 3 silver puppets. At this moment, the divine power of the 3 puppets is 10,000 times. Has the power of an emperor. When the 5 people arrived, he also looked at the silver puppet intentionally or unintentionally. Guardian Yunhai and others were very curious about why Jian Wushuang came to them just after leaving for a few days. At this time, they were all worried that Jian Wushuang was going to drive them away, and everyone was anxious to show their loyalty, because the few days of practicing here are faster than the speed of cultivating in the outside world for 100 years. Absolutely hopeful emperor. Dijuan is what they dream of. Looking at the 5 people with their own thoughts, Jian Wushuang said, "Everyone, how are you practicing these days? Can you touch the opportunity to join the Tao?" Hearing Jian Wushuang's question about cultivation, Yunhai Protector immediately replied, "Reporting to Pavilion Master, my subordinates have made rapid progress these days, and I hope to be the emperor. Practicing here is like enjoying the spring breeze. I often feel the mystery of the universe's movement. I have a lot of feelings about the position of the emperor. Presumably in time, I can help the Pavilion Master to rule the entire ancient world. Traveling to the world is no longer a dream." In terms of flattery, Guardian Yunhai has mastered it with a high degree of proficiency. It's no wonder that the double-faced Buddha arranged him by his side, and even gave his own sister to the Dharma protector Yunhai. Seeing this, the others also opened their mouths and replied, "Me too." Seeing this, Jian Wushuang couldn't help sighing. "It's too slow. I'm afraid I won't be able to wait for you all to ascend the throne of the great emperor." He shook his head and sighed, then pointed out that 3 silver puppets floated over. The 3 puppets exploded with divine power at the same time. A powerful force swept over. The shocked Yunhai Guardian and others couldn't lift their heads. Feeling the powerful force, the 5 of them couldn't help but marvel. 10,000 times divine power. This silver protector is no different from Yang Dingtian at his peak, even stronger. The master of the pavilion has this puppet, our usefulness may be greatly reduced. Protector Yunhai thought in his heart. Seeing that the hearts of the people began to wander, Jian Wushuang continued to speak. "It's not that I look down on you, but this silver puppet was changed by the rumored God's Eye clan's heaven-reaching law. Do you know what the predecessor of this silver puppet is?" Everyone was speechless. Obviously they didn't know. After all, it is about the God Eye clan. They only know the mystery of God Eye, and they don't know anything else. Their predecessors were Taoist lords. Jian Wushuang said it directly without making any excuses. When they heard that the predecessor of the silver puppet was Daojun, everyone's eyes showed surprise. This is tantamount to some kind of ritual, sacrificing oneself to become a puppet. But the consequences are also clear to everyone. If you become a puppet, you will have no hope of promotion. Now that Jian Wushuang told them this, wouldn't he want them to sacrifice their lives to become puppets? Everyone was grumbling from the bottom of their hearts. If they become puppets, then what is the point of their cultivation here? Isn't the reason why you have been picking up Jian Wushuang because you want to practice here? Without the meaning of cultivation, there is no need to pick Jian Wushuang anymore. 10,000 times the power of the gods, the Taoist lord against the sky. It is indeed very powerful, much stronger than they are now. But they will not abandon their practice path because of this. Jian Wushuang looked at the crowd. How could he not know what these people were thinking? He is also not prepared to directly force the other party to sacrifice his life. That would be meaningless. He must let the other party rely on himself. In fact, he can also look for it from the outside world, but he is not sure whether the other party is willing to sacrifice his life. The subordinates of these double-faced Buddhas now have nowhere to go and no background. We all know the bottom line, it is best to control. That's why these people were chosen. Controlling power, powerful strength is only part of it. Chapter 64-36. More important is the means. Jian Wushuang rubbed his chin, seeing how nervous they were all, as if they were engaged in some kind of struggle. Especially Yunhai Guardian, his talent is average. At the moment, he is struggling, whether to play dumb, or to agree to Jian Wushuang directly. If he pretended to be stupid, he wasn't sure that Jian Wushuang would do anything to them. Promise Jian Wushuang, He is sure that Jian Wushuang will help him sacrifice his life, and then he will become a heaven-defying Taoist monarch. In the entire ancient world, even if he meets an emperor, he can break his wrist. But he is still hesitating, because it involves too much. Who wants to cut off their future? But Jian Wushuang said at this moment, I called you here this time, just to find an ordinary true immortal, who has no hope of cultivation, and wants to improve his strength quickly. I can help him succeed in sacrificing his life. He will follow me in the future, and help me do things. Hearing his words, everyone let out a sigh of relief. It seems that the pavilion master doesn't want to force us, so that's fine. So let's recommend a personal choice. Everyone was thinking in their hearts. It is also being discussed. Pavilion master, I have someone to choose. It was the first one to speak again. Jian Wushuang said calmly, say, Blood River. Yunhai Guardian replied. You know the pavilion master, this guy has no hope of being promoted. Even if he becomes a Taoist monarch, it will be like that. If he can become a top Taoist monarch, it will not be of much help to the pavilion owner. Just let him sacrifice himself to become a silver puppet. This is also a reward for him. The silent Chu Xiong also followed suit and said, Xuehe is indeed good, he has a good heart, and his strength is not weak, he is competent enough. Okay, then let him come over. Jian Wushuang waved his hand. Everyone was overjoyed, and quickly transmitted the sound to Patriarch Xuehe. This guy doesn't even know that he has cultivated well, and his future has been decided by everyone. When he came, he was also in a daze. It was Chu Xiong who told him the matter. When the ancestor Xuehe heard that there was such a good thing, he immediately agreed. He knows how much he owns. It is simply his dream to be able to become the Taoist against heaven without any effort. Immediately knelt down to Jian Wushuang, and swore to be loyal to Jian Wushuang for the rest of his life. Jian Wushuang was not surprised, pressed his hand and said, I will help you become a Taoist first, and talk about the bottleneck in your origin. Xuehe said all of his bottlenecks in one breath. In fact, he is very close to becoming a Taoist monarch, but he is stuck somewhere and cannot break through. Enlightenment here may be faster, but it will take 100,000 years to fully break through. After breaking through, the next target is Dijuan, which is too far away for him to estimate. Even if it is promoted to the top Taoist monarch, it may take millions of years. This is longer than the birth of the ancient world. There is no way. The talent is not enough. The origin has already been fixed. It's no use who comes. It was only remodeled the day after tomorrow. When Jian Wushuang heard the words, a stream of light burst out from between his brows. That was his thought power, and the light flowed into Patriarch Zuhi's body, turned into his own illusory figure, and began to point the Blood River Patriarch. Relying on his guidance to evolve, it only takes one day to help Patriarch Xuehe become a Taoist. At the same time, he also speeds up the flow of time. This place is deep in the origin of the universe. Relying on the 9-prison tower can speed up the flow here. The outside world is just a moment, and the ancestor of Xuehe instantly fulfilled his original source, and became a Taoist monarch. Thank you, Pavilion Master, for your guidance. Patriarch Xuehe knelt down and thanked him excitedly. Guardian Yunhai and others were also surprised to find that Patriarch Xuehe had become a Taoist, and they were shocked in their hearts that Jian Wushuang could quickly help Patriarch Xuehe become a Taoist. This is too scary. If Jian Wushuang is willing, he can recruit countless true immortals and help them become Tao Lords, which will become the most powerful force in the entire ancient world. This is more crazy than any holy land or ancient court. At the same time, they are also guessing how powerful Jian Wushuang is. It must be at the level of the emperor, and it is an emperor who is stronger than the Holy Lord. But for some reason, the realm has dropped now. At this time, they help Jian Wushuang complete the great cause of recovery. In the future, they will be ministers of the dragon. For a while, they all made a decision, that is to serve Jian Wushuang, until the opponent returns to its original state. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and said calmly, You don't need to thank me. First give me all the treasures on your body. These things will affect the sacrificial ceremony. Yes. Patriarch Xuehe handed everything on him to Jian Wushuang without any hesitation. Naturally, he didn't like this little treasure on Patriarch Zuhi's body, mainly for the rest of the people to see. Now I will help you die to become a silver puppet. After Jian Wushuang finished speaking, he deliberately refined the treasures just now, and then took out a drop of silver water, and dropped it on the forehead of Patriarch Xuehe. In just an instant, Patriarch Zuhi's whole body turned silver. A strong aura filled the origin of the ancestor of Xuehe, and in an instant his origin was filled with silver blood, and his whole body turned silver from the inside to the outside. Even the eyes are silver. At the same time, his immortal power completely disappeared, replaced by divine power. The divine power began to explode from 10 times. 1 breath, 100 times the divine power. 2 breaths, 1,000 times the divine power. 3 breaths, 10,000 times divine power. At the same time reached the peak. Patriarch Xuehe took a deep breath, feeling the incredible strength in his body. Although he has no roots, he can absorb all kinds of treasures to restore his divine power. Actually not too bad. A monk is like a living well, but after sacrificing his life, it becomes a dead well. The truth is that simple, but it's hard to do. After waving his fist, the ancestor of Xuehe felt an unprecedented sense of satisfaction. After being grateful to Jian Wushuang, he glanced at Guardian Yunhai and others. He estimated that he exuded 10,000 times of divine power, which shocked everyone. I was able to get such a chance this time. Cannot do without everyone's recommendations. Thank you, Xuehe. Patriarch Xuehe seemed to put his posture very low, but when he spoke, he was far more confident than before. Protector Yunhai and the others no longer dared to look down on Patriarch Xuehe. Brother Xuehe, you have accumulated a lot of money, and of course you should thank the pavilion master for the gift. Guardian Chiefing said politely. Chu Xiong had some indescribable feelings in his heart. Originally he looked down on Xuehe, but in a blink of an eye Xuehe surpassed him. Although I have a little hope of surpassing the other party, but it takes a long time. Hehe. Of course I know that it was bestowed by the pavilion master, so I will rush to serve the pavilion master ahead of everyone. After the ancestor Xuehe finished being polite, his tone became more and more rigid. Seeing these people fighting openly and secretly, Jian Wushuang smiled from the bottom of his heart. This is the result he wanted. Chapter 6437. The Blood River sacrifice ceremony has not yet been completed, so don't be too happy. Jian Wushuang pretended to be stern. Hearing this, Xuehe was a little surprised in his heart, and said, Yes, pavilion master. Although he didn't understand, he still bowed his head respectfully and stood aside. Jian Wushuang stood with his hands behind his back, and explained. The silver puppet is just the weakest sacrifice ritual. I still have a stronger sacrifice ritual that I haven't used. Now I will sacrifice myself for the second time. Sacrifice for the second time? Patriarch Xuehe raised his head and widened his eyes. The same goes for the rest. They didn't expect that there was a second kind of sacrifice. What kind of strength will that be? The silver puppet has 10,000 times the divine power. Going up further, can it directly become the Emperor's combat power? Everyone couldn't believe it, even Patriarch Xuehe. But he is the most excited person, and he can be stronger. Of course, the stronger the better for him. The 3 puppets behind Jian Wushuang also showed surprise. They know that the current master may be able to sacrifice the golden puppet. Are you ready? Jian Wushuang raised his hand and asked. Patriarch Xuehe said respectfully, Ready. His voice just fell. Jian Wushuang had already made a move, and the whole person instantly transformed into the of the gods of the gods. The strength of the whole body was condensed a little, and combined with the silver divine blood, a drop of golden blood was condensed. This also shocked Jian Wushuang's aura and dropped a lot of strength. But the golden divine blood dripped on Patriarch Xuehe. Because theology comes from Jian Wushuang, once he becomes a golden puppet, Patriarch Xuehe will unconsciously have a sense of identification with him. This feeling is not a kindness nor is it because of his strength. But because of the recognition from Jian Wushuang's slavery, will recognize Jian Wushuang as the master. Everything is based on the interests of Jian Wushuang. Even if they are sent to die, there is absolutely no difference. The silver color of Patriarch Zuhi's whole body turned into gold, just like the feeling just now. It's just that the current divine power has been fully enhanced by 40,000 times. Now his divine power is 50,000 times stronger, has surpassed the emperor. 50,000 times the divine power of an extremely strong person is already very good. At this moment, Patriarch Xuehe clenched his fists, raised his head suddenly, and a strong coercion burst out from his eyes. This pressure surprised everyone present. Of course, except for Jian Wushuang. Protector Yunhai and the others looked at Patriarch Xuehe now, and they had changed from being treated equally to being respectful, because Patriarch Xuehe strengthened them too much. Xuehe, feel your current strength well. 50,000 times divine power is not so easy to control. Jian Wushuang did not forget to remind. In fact, it is for others to listen to. But other people have long been frightened. At the same time, the place where he regretted was blue, and his eyes were cloudy. If he was stimulated by a strong breath, he would probably be lucky. Regret? I regret it. Why wasn't I the one who was sacrificed? As long as I say a word, now I have 50,000 times the power of the gods. Is it still too late? At this moment, the intestines of Yunhai Protector and others regretted it. Before Jian Wushuang asked their opinions, as long as he stepped forward, he would become a golden puppet now. Especially Chu Xiong, he regretted it the most. His talent is considered the strongest among the crowd, but the chance of becoming an emperor is also very small. Even if he cultivated to the edge of He Dao, is He Dao really that simple? Even if the Dao is successful, how strong is it? First-tier emperors have 5,000 times the divine power, but most emperors can become emperors with second-tier combat power by virtue of the improvement of the Divine Eye Mystery technique. Because this world has the Mystic Eye technique, which is much stronger than the Taoist Lord of Qishan Temple, the second-tier emperor has 10,000 times the divine power, on the same level as Daojun Nitian. Many emperors in the ancient court have this strength. Then there is the third-tier emperor, the peak third-tier emperor, relying on the Mystic Eye technique, can explode to 20,000 divine power. The emperors of the 4th to 5th ranks have 30,000 times the divine power. A 6th rank emperor with 40,000 divine powers. Absolute peak, 50,000 times divine power. But the absolute peak of 50,000 times the divine power is only a foundation in this world. Like that Ilwan, who has practiced the 3rd round of the Mystic Eye secret technique, and his divine power can be estimated to explode to 80,000 times, easily comparable to the Tribulation realm. Even if the monks of the human race are not as powerful as the monks of the God Eye race, they can still exert 60,000 to 70,000 divine powers. The 50,000 times the divine power of the golden puppet is not the top among the peaks, but it crushes all the emperors with ease. The Patriarch Xuehe grew from a true immortal to an extremely powerful fighter. It took less than a cup of tea. From obscurity to admiration by all. When the ancestor of Xuehe looked at Guardian Yunhai and the others again, there was more contempt in his eyes. Jian Wushuang is very satisfied with this. The effect he wanted has arrived. In fact, this time it wasn't all for those treasures, but to sacrifice all of them. When the time comes, it's time to go to the secret place that Ilwan mentioned and look for the spaceship. I also need some help around. You can't do everything by yourself. Xuehe, prepare here, and follow me from now on. Patriarch Xuehe respectfully said. Yes. Well, let's do this first. You can ask the other true immortals. If you want to sacrifice your life, you can tell me. There are more places now. If there are more people in the future, there may be no more. Jian Wushuang smiled and reminded at the same time. By the way, Yunhai, don't relax. Since you have chosen the path of cultivation, you must practice hard. Don't let me down, become an emperor as soon as possible. And help me do things, the benefits are endless. After he finished speaking, he turned and prepared to leave. Protector Yunhai couldn't bear it any longer, and even rolled and crawled to Jian Wushuang's feet begging. Pavilion Master, I am willing to sacrifice my life, and I hope Pavilion Master will be fulfilled. Pavilion Master, I don't want to work hard anymore. Guardian Chiefling also ran over. Seeing this, Chu Xiong and the other two protectors stopped holding it and knelt down to beg for sacrifice. Jian Wushuang was very satisfied to see that everyone was devastated. Have you thought about it? Think it over, don't hesitate. Everyone nodded. At the same time, he took out all the treasures on his body, waiting for Jian Wushuang to be refined, and then using divine blood to sacrifice them to become puppets. Since you don't want to work hard, then I will fulfill you. Jian Wushuang took out 5 drops of silver blood and dripped them on everyone's foreheads. In an instant, 5 people sacrificed their lives successfully. Golden divine blood needs my strength to condense. Don't worry. I will help you sacrifice your life with golden blood in a few days. After Jian Wushuang finished speaking, the deity had already left. Only the avatar remained. After thanking everyone again, they also seemed a little anxious. After all, Patriarch Xuehe has become a golden puppet. 50,000 times divine power. The outside world, the auction house. At this time, all the treasures of the first stage have been photographed. Jiuchen also asked Huang Yue to take all the treasures he gave to Emperor Duobao, and they will be auctioned off one by one later. Chapter 6438. Of course, after selling, it will be distributed to Emperor Duobao. But because of Huang Yue, the handling fee was waived directly. After Jian Wushuang returned to his true self, Huang Yue just came back. Fellow Taoist Yue, I need to trouble you. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, took out a mustard seed and handed it over. Inside are all kinds of precious treasures. All the garbage points were directly refined into immortal crystals by him. Seeing this, Huang Yue sighed. Next time, you'll give it to me all at once. But she was still very surprised at the treasures of Jian Wushuang and others. When I took the treasures in the mustard seed to Brother Duobao, I told her that those treasures were worth 200 billion immortal crystals. Now another mustard seed is given, and there are several peak treasures in it. At the same time, there are some extremely precious rare treasures. After Huang Yue agreed, she left again. You take all of these. Jian Wushuang turned his head and handed Jiuchen a mustard seed, which contained 20 billion immortal crystals. Jiuchen swallowed and said unsteadily, Jian Wushuang, I don't know how to thank you this time, but please rest assured, when you need me in the future, I will never say anything to Jiuchen. You're welcome. It's strange that Brother Wushuang takes a fancy to your strength. Xiang Yang still looked indifferent, but this time Jian Wushuang patted him on the shoulder and said, Brother Xiang Yang, I will really ask you to help me this time, but I will have to wait until you become the ultimate master, or even the master of the universe. Xiang Yang's eyes became serious and he nodded. The second phase of the auction will start on time. Huang Yue also returned to her seat. The competition for treasures at this stage is fierce. Jian Wushuang and the others were not in a hurry to bid. They are all waiting for the treasure about Hadao. The 19th lot, the spiritual spring of harmony, is a rare treasure from the chaotic void. 1 drop of the spiritual spring can enlighten people. 2 drops can make people enlightened, and 3 drops can comprehend the harmony. After Emperor Duobao finished speaking, everyone present gasped. This time, 3 copies will be auctioned, each with 3 drops. The fellow Taoists with the top 3 prices will get one of them. If the top 3 prices are paid by one person, they will all be won. The starting price is 1 billion immortal crystals, and the auction starts now. Emperor Duobao just finished speaking. All the Taoists in the venue bid at the same time. Fortunately, Duobao is an emperor, otherwise he would not be able to see the price. From the beginning of 1 billion immortal crystals, in just 3 breaths, it broke through 10 billion. The top 3 quotations are all above 18 billion. The further back, the better the voice of the bid. After a stick of incense lasted, only 7 or 8 bidders were left. Jian Wushuang nodded, and Jiuchen also began to bid at this moment. 20 billion 20. 1 billion 20. 2 billion. Jiuchen quoted 3 prices in one go. Many people in the arena also looked over. Seeing him sitting with Huang Yue, he knew that Jishen's background was unusual. It really scared a few people away. However, someone continued to bid. From 20 billion to 30 billion directly. But he only offered one price, and obviously only wanted one copy. Jiuchen continued to bid, still at 3 prices. In the end, the sum of the 3 prices exceeded 100 billion. Only 3 spiritual springs. Good guy, I spent the immortal crystal all at once. Xiang Yang sighed with emotion. Jian Wushuang frowned. He didn't expect the money to be so impatient. Half of the treasures that were taken out were auctioned off, and there were about 150 billion immortal crystals, which Huang Yue sent over just now. Otherwise, the treasures in the back cannot be bought. There are also half of the treasures, which are almost 150 billion. A total of 300 billion immortal crystals, not counting the deep sea legacy. This was placed in the 3rd stage. But the treasures of Hedao at that stage are even more against the sky. I'm afraid it will be in the trillions. Jian Wushuang must sell some more treasures. But now, he even sold the treasures of Jiuchen and Xiangyang. Where is there anything else to sell? It seems that I have to sell my blood. Jian Wushuang rubbed his brows. If it is selling the blood of the ancient demon, then they have as much as they want. But the blood of the ancient demon is of great use to mortals, but not so useful to true immortals, and the level of Daojun is even more dispensable. So not worth the money. That can only sell Jian Wushuang's own blood. But now he is condensing the God Eye clan, and the blood he condenses is all diluted blood of the gods, which is used for sacrifice. Selling it would be a waste. Sell your supernatural power. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes slightly. I also sacrifice myself to become a golden puppet, with 50,000 times the divine power, which can condense 500 million divine crystals. 500 million divine crystals are equivalent to 500 billion immortal crystals. After condensing, his golden puppet body has no power, but fortunately, it can go to the universe origin of the 3rd world to devour it. Of course, only he can devour it, the ancestor of Shiwehe couldn't. But Jian Wushuang can't devour too much. This is the origin of the universe that Brother Guiyan used for the clansmen. He couldn't hold back his face even with what he ate and took. This time, in order to help Jiuchen and Xiangyang, he also gave up his old face. Almost all of the remaining Hedao treasures in the 2nd stage were taken by them. It also attracted a lot of attention. Of course, the money is almost spent. It took a full 600 billion immortal crystals. An ordinary emperor is worth this much. Brother Wushuang, it's almost enough. I have experience in my previous life, so I just need some help. Xiangyang also saw that Jian Wushuang really couldn't get the immortal crystal. Jiuchen also quickly comforted him. I also have the experience of joining the Tao left by the old master, and I don't need any more treasures. Seeing that both of them said that, Jian Wushuang said, there is also a flower of life, which is the key treasure of the Tao. I want to buy it for Jiang and I. How many immortal crystals are left? Well, I still have 60 billion here. I still have 800, that's 1400, plus a deep sea legacy. I should be able to take it. Jian Wushuang was thinking in his heart. Soon the 3rd phase also began. The 3rd stage is all about lowering the treasures. The first one is the deep sea treasure. When this treasure came out, the Taoist monarchs were all stunned. This treasure is somewhat beyond class. After all, it is a legendary treasure. The starting price is 100 billion immortal crystals. There is a deep-sea treasure. Why haven't I heard the news? But unfortunately there are too few immortal crystals prepared this time, so I can't bid. The pearl of the deep sea. Notify the ancestors of the family. Many Taoist monarchs have started to raise money, because the deep-sea treasure can be regarded as a family treasure, and it can be completely used as a family treasure, because offspring can be raised. This value is even higher than the value of those Taoist treasures. There was even a Tao lord who knew that his strength was not enough to be Taoist and hopeless, so he immediately gave up making Taoist treasures and directly chose the deep-sea relic. The starting price was 100 billion, which was quickly raised to 150 billion. Chapter 6439. Looking at the price of Feisheng, Jian Wushuang felt relieved. This was much higher than what he had imagined. Soon, the price of the deep-sea treasure reached the 200 billion mark. Xiang Yang said excitedly. This is enough, plus the immortal crystal on our body. More than 300 billion. Buying that flower of life is more than a mistake. Jian Wushuang also nodded. On the side of the deep-sea treasure, there are two big families vying for it. Both families are emperor families in the ancient court. After notifying the ancestors just now, they asked them to sell their treasures in exchange for money. As long as they took the deep-sea bead, the sold treasures would be bought back by the family and get family rewards. Naturally, they will do whatever it takes, and even start borrowing money. Not everyone can afford the treasures of the third stage, and many people have even left. It is convenient for both parties to borrow money from friends among these people. In the end, it was auctioned off by a burly Taoist, and the price also came to 240 billion immortal crystals. After the deep-sea legacy was handed over to that person, Jian Wushuang also obtained 240 billion immortal crystals, including the original remaining, a total of 380 billion. This can be regarded as a meeting gift for that little girl Jiang and I. Jian Wushuang played with mustard seeds, waiting for the appearance of the flower of harmony. In the third stage, there are a total of 10 treasures, and the flower of harmony is the last one. The three waited boredly for the last treasure. An hour later, at the end of this auction, the treasures are also lowered, and the flowers of the Tao are auctioned. The starting price is 100 billion immortal crystals. After the flower of compassion appeared, everyone who was about to leave turned back. They didn't know what the treasures in the subsequent auctions would be. Only Jian Wushuang and Emperor Duobao know. Many people are heartbroken when they hear that there is a flower of harmony, because the money is gone. But there are still a few people with high net worth, and they also have the foresight to prepare a large number of immortal crystals in advance, just to suppress the treasures. At this time, the flower of harmony appeared on the stage, and the price was directly pulled to 200 billion. But very few bidders. Only 3. These 3 are all peak Taoist monarchs. Although not as powerful as Yang Dingshan's 10,000 times divine power, his talent is not bad. They've all reached the brink. And they only practiced one kind of mystic eye technique. There is great hope for harmony. If there is a flower of harmony to assist the left, there is a high probability of success in becoming an emperor. His Tao is not weak. Once he succeeds in joining the Tao, he will be a second-tier emperor, and with a little practice, he can become a third-tier emperor. Coupled with a strong background, wealth is also sufficient to support. Looking at the rising price, Jian Wushuang raised his hand and said, 38 billion. He has a calm expression. This is all his immortal crystals. If there are still bids, then he can only sell his supernatural power. After this price is quoted, the whole venue was silent. After a while, Emperor Duobao was ready to start calling out the number, before someone continued to bid. 400 billion. The person who opened the mouth seemed to have pressed all the treasures, and it seemed that there was only one breath. Jian Wushuang observed the immortal crystal in the opponent's mustard seed, raised his hand again and said, I'll give you 438 billion. After hearing the price, the Taoist lord showed surprise in his eyes, because this price was just 3 billion more immortal crystals than him. It was the extra 3 billion immortal crystals that overwhelmed him, because I already borrowed the immortal crystal. And if I borrow it again, I am afraid that the other party will also borrow it. The price is too high. The Fuzhua treasure that fits the Tao is only Fuzhua after all. It is not directly able to make people become emperors. Among them there is a huge risk. If it fails, even if it does not die, it will probably be useless, and the debt will have to be repaid at that time. Too much stress. Bidding was eventually stopped. Jian Wushuang also got the flower of harmony. The auction also came to an end with Duobao Daijin's voice. This time, he chose the residence arranged with Huang Yuer, because there was nothing going on in the Temple of Heaven. I have bought all the treasures that should be bought, and I have also inquired about the news that should be inquired clearly. No need to wander around the city either. After entering the temple arranged by Huang Yuer, he began to study the secret method of the soul. I want to improve my combat power again. 50,000 divine power alone is not enough now. After all, his subordinates have 50,000 divine powers. In the past few days, besides his own cultivation, he also helped the 4 guardians to perform sacrifice rituals and helped them become golden puppets. For a while there were 5 more top fighters around. At the same time, he also sacrificed the other 9 true immortals, including Fairy Ziyu. But these people are just silver puppets. Jian Wushuang is not an omnipotent god. After all, the cosmic god hasn't been restored yet, so he can only raise 5 golden puppets. The main thing is that there is no redundant silver theology. If so, it can be improved. Even after his divine power breaks through 100,000, he can help Yinhai Dharma Protector and others improve their divine power. After all this was done, the appointed day came. The Moon Shadow Emperor gathered everyone in the main hall early. In addition to the 3 of Jian Wushuang, there are 9 Taoist monarchs. These people are not the disciples of the Moon Shadow Great Emperor, but some strange faces. The breath on the body is also different. It should be those adventurous Taoist monarchs in the chaotic void. As for why he didn't use his disciples, no one knew. After everyone got together, Moon Shadow Emperor said, I have found the location of Yang Dingtian and the Sword Fairy. I will activate the space teleportation, and I will come to the vicinity of the 2 in an instant, and then I will block everyone. Breath, listen to my order before you get close. Yes. Everyone agreed in unison. Moon Shadow Emperor nodded and started to activate the formation. Space teleportation is actually teleportation, and the current Moon Shadow Emperor cannot do it. So it can only rely on space to teleport the large array. However, the space teleportation array he used is of a high level and is a large array that can be moved. Compared with teleportation, they are almost the same. The only difference is that it is a little troublesome. The big formation was activated, and everyone disappeared in the same place in an instant. Covering the sea ancient domain. The word covering the sea comes first. It was because of the great sage overturning the sea back then. It was named after that ancient demon. This is an illusion that everyone knows, but not many people know why the great sage overturned sea is called overturned sea. The reason why I gave myself the word, overwhelming the sea, it is because in this ancient moon, there is a low ocean. The ocean exists underground and cannot be found on the ground. The buried sea is called the covering sea. There are many passages to enter the covered sea. Except for these passages, it is impossible to enter the covered sea. Of course, teleportation is possible. After all, the sea cover only isolates the terrain, not the space. Most of the monks who usually enter Fuhai are ordinary people. The Mahayana period is the most. Don't look at Fuhai as mysterious, but in fact there are very few treasures. Chapter 6440 Overwhelming Sea. Generally, it would be good to find some lost fairy artifacts at the bottom of the sea. Most of the monks who entered the sea cover were to kill the monsters in the sea. It is rumored that these monster races contain the blood of ancient demons. Absorbing the essence can strengthen the body, so it attracted a lot of mortal powerhouses. If it wasn't for this reason, there might be even fewer monks in the overlying sea. After all, in the ground, there are no treasures, and it is not suitable for living in retreat. But Yang Dingtian and Jiang and I hid here. Because there are many passages here. You are not afraid of being besieged, and you can attack and retreat or defend. It's an excellent hiding place. At this moment in the depths of the sea, on a small island covered with corals, there is a small hill with dazzling sunlight. On the mountain peak, a person sat cross-legged. Next to it was a dark green divine sword, with a turtle shell hanging on it, and a peeled stone snake connected in series, like a mortal bracelet. The owner of the Excalibur is dressed in a white robe, with 3,000 hairs and a crown, full of heroic spirit. The reason why it is said to be full of heroism is because the owner of the Excalibur is a woman. This person was none other than Jiang and I, who had been away from Jian Wushuang for a long time. For 10,000 years, relying on her own efforts, she has mastered the ultimate swordsmanship step by step from the peak of the Mahayana period, and walked to the edge of the path step by step. At the same time, he also made a great name in the entire Guyu world. King of Alignment. A sword fairy who can fight against the emperor and can still severely damage the existence of the Taoist monarch. Her light overwhelmed Yang Dingtian. It even surpassed the Taoist lord of the entire Guyu world. All the emperors in the ancient court treated him equally. It's just that for some reason this woman has always been hostile to Gu Ting, and several peace talks have been destroyed by ruthless swordsmanship. This kind of unknown grievance is the most terrifying. Jiang and I, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly opened his eyes. Kindness. She raised her brows, and the sound transmission from the bottom of her heart sent to Yang Dingtian. There is an emperor coming, be careful. What? The emperor is here? Yang Dingtian at the other end was startled, and hurried out of the cave, and rushed to the top of the mountain. Jiang Daoyu, is that the emperor here? Jiang and I looked very calm, and said calmly, I don't know and I don't care. Jiang Daoyu, what if there are several emperors again? You were injured last time, will this time? Although Yang Dingtian also wanted revenge, he was not crazy enough to ignore the emperor degree. In his opinion, as long as he keeps making troubles in the sea covering ancient territory, that's enough. His goal is to destroy the formation of the double-faced divine palace. As for fighting against the emperor, he has only one way to escape. Jiang Nia's strength is not afraid of the emperor, but he can't stand up to several emperors. You can choose to leave, and I will help you to be the queen. Jiang and I said indifferently. No matter how Yang Dingtian said it, he was also a super strong man with a great reputation, and he still couldn't do it to make a woman the queen. Fellow Taoists, don't worry, I Yang are not afraid of death. If it's not necessary, I won't give up, fellow Taoist, and go straight away. Yang Dingtian clenched his fists. All these years his hatred has never let go. He thought that defeating the double-faced Buddha would end everything. But he never thought that the fall of the double-faced Buddha would turn the ancient world into what it is today. If he hadn't rushed to the double-faced shrine to take revenge on the double-faced Buddha, the double-faced Buddha would not have brought out the treasure of chaos. Without the supreme treasure of chaos, there would be no 6 emperors, and without the 6 emperors of Gyuting, the emperors of the Holy Land would not be sealed. There is one more emperor in the Holy Land. Even if the news of the Holy Master's entrapment spreads, the 3 emperors working together can resist the threat of the entire ancient court. Everything. In fact, it can be traced back to Jian Wushuang. In other words, it was the greed of true monarch Blood Yang. A little Mahayana monk caused this bloodbath. A tragedy that changed the pattern of the ancient world. In 10,000 years, many Taoist monarchs have fallen, and there are countless real immortals. Although true immortals can be regarded as strong no matter where they are, the ancient world is very big. Every ancient domain has a large number of true immortals. Gu Ting took down 17 ancient domains at once, and 7 of them were completely taken down. Among them, the fallen true immortals are a terrifying number. Not to mention Mahayana monks. As long as it is a strong man in the Holy Land, there will be no one left. Once you let them go, it will be a problem in the future. Gyuting was able to take down 17 ancient domains quickly by relying on strong means. If he hadn't been stopped by the 2 emperors, he would have been pushed to the Holy Land long ago. No way. The 2 emperors of the Holy Land are too powerful. All have innate treasures. On Gyuting's side, even if the 3 masters of Gyuting took action, they could only suppress it. But Gyuting couldn't do without superpowers. After coming and going, they stalemate. The only person who can break the situation is the emperor suppressed by the double-faced divine palace. He is the only one who doesn't have the innate treasure in the Holy Land. So he came to the sea-covering ancient domain to get the chaotic treasure. Gu Ting also reacted quickly and quickly made a layout. Suppressed a tier 4 top emperor, who had no innate treasure. This emperor is the weakest. Not as good as those 2 in the Holy Land now. After all, those 2 emperors not only had innate treasures, but even had the fighting power of 5th-order emperors. This is why none of the masters of the ancient court are opponents. Because the lord of the ancient court is only the top of the 4th rank. I'm not afraid of chasing and killing, but because of our current predicament, it's too difficult to break through that great formation. Yang Dingshan's face was full of twilight. Jiang and I raised his eyes and said, "Young Dingtian, there is no need for you to follow this muddy water. In fact, you were roasted on the fire. If you keep wearing a mask, one day you will not be able to take it off." "What do you mean by this, fellow Taoist?" Young Dingshan's eyes lit up. At the same time, there was a bitterness in my heart. In fact, you are right. His hatred actually ended after the fall of the double-faced Buddha. Going to avenge the disciples is completely a matter of human design. He was too perfect back then. Emphasis on love and righteousness. His disciples were wiped out by Gu Ting's wave of hands. With his personality, it is natural to take revenge. I also had to take revenge. This is the only way to preserve your reputation. What young Dingtian values most is reputation. If it wasn't for this matter, even if he was asked to hand over the Chaos Supreme Treasure, he would have said nothing. The words are very clear. You have good qualifications. You shouldn't delay yourself here. Jiang and I commented calmly. Young Dingtian frowned and said indifferently, "What about fellow Taoist Jiang? Don't you also have hatred? And I can see that you are not very old, and you may have only practiced for 10,000 years. Why do you carry hatred and attack Gu Ting? Do you attack Gu Ting at all costs? I remember when we cooperated, you asked me about the double-faced temple, and the missing sea of clouds and guardian chiefing? Could it be that you have something to do with them?" Chapter 64-41. Facing young Dingshan's inquiry. Jiang and I looked a lot more solemn. At the same time, she also thought of her most desperate sword. For a time, the memory was pulled away. From her point of view, Jian Wushuang arranged for her to go to experience with Xiang Yang and others, and then encountered the biggest blow to her life in Hughes Mountain. She watched Jiu Chun and Xiang Yang fall one after another in order to save her, but she was powerless, and finally broke out with the sword that Jian Wushuang taught her. After escaping from birth, she didn't have a trace of joy. Began to frantically look for Jian Wushuang, because that was the last place she could vent. But no matter how she inquired, she couldn't find Jian Wushuang. There was no news of the summons token left for her. Afterwards, a shocking battle took place in the double-faced divine mansion. The double-faced Buddha has fallen. Young Dingtian killed all the experts in the double-faced divine palace. She wanted to find young Dingtian to inquire about the news, but she was cut off by a strong aura before she reached the double-faced mountain. Afterwards, it was Guting's attack on the overlying sea ancient territory. The news was blocked at once. She couldn't find anything. In a daze, she followed the flow of people and left the sea-covering ancient domain. This journey is 9,000 years. After leaving the sea-covering ancient domain, she began to cultivate desperately, because Jian Wushuang once said to her, "If one day you lose your backer, that is the day you become a backer yourself." It was with this sentence that Jiang and I began to practice desperately. In his mind, there is the inheritance of kendo left by Jian Wushuang. She hardly ever needs to ask a teacher. In terms of resources, because the major ancient regions are fighting, she began to join the Holy Land to fight against the strong in the ancient court, accumulate military merits in exchange for a large number of treasures, and support wars with battles. Although what he realized was the ultimate sort of life, but in her sword intent, there was an extra death. The way of death was not passed on to her by Jian Wushuang, but a way that she realized by relying on the killing in her heart. The ultimate sword of life and death contains 3 ultimate ways. Life, death, swordsmanship. The combination of 3 swords makes her outstanding on the battlefield. The battles again and again allowed her to gradually accumulate experience. It took her 3,000 years to complete the 9 steps of a true immortal. After becoming a Taoist monarch, she gave up fighting on the battlefield. Start retreat. It is not until the Taoist Lord is consummated and reaches the edge of the Tao that he will not leave the customs. With this exit, he earned the title of a quasi-immortal emperor. It is said that he is a quasi-immortal emperor, but he can carry 3 emperors to fight alone. It is completely relying on the strength of Tao to fight. Because she didn't practice the mystic eye technique, she didn't have the innate treasure, and she didn't even have a divine body. She was 5,000 times the physical body. and she still used the power of immortality. On the other hand, the opponent has 10,000 times the divine body, and the powerful peak treasure set, and he still uses divine power, and he has practiced the mystic eye technique. The mystical eye technique is not a forbidden technique in the ancient court, and it can only be practiced once under the emperor. The emperor is let go, and he can practice at will. Therefore, the 3 emperors in the ancient court are all tier 3 top fighters. But there was nothing he could do about Jiang and I. This combat power is enough to disdain the Taoist monarch of the entire ancient world. Ordinary emperors would bow their heads when they saw her. Of course she wasn't afraid at all. The only thing I'm afraid of is that Jian Wushuang will also fall. So after she gained strength, the first person she approached was Yang Dingtian, and asked him about the details of that battle. Of course it was impossible for Yang Dingtian to tell her honestly. Still need some force. This is the benefit of strength. You can let others talk to you well, or even ask them to respect you well. From Yang Dingshan's mouth she didn't know much. But the disappearance of Guardian Chiefing and others gave her hope. Yang Dingtian was also dishonest at the time, and told her from the side that the person she was looking for might be sealed in the double-faced divine palace. So Jiang and I has been in the covering ancient domain for thousands of years, all in order to break that great formation. Just to see if Jian Wushuang is trapped in the formation. In fact, in her eyes, Jian Wushuang has always been very strong, and it is the kind of power that can easily leave her, Xiang Yang and others behind every time without much cultivation. The strength is advancing by leaps and bounds, and it is ridiculously strong. When he was in the mundane world, Jian Wushuang said that his realm had fallen. At that time, she thought that Jian Wushuang might be a baby, or even a god. After ascension, she felt that Jian Wushuang might be a true immortal. But in the double-faced divine palace, Jian Wushuang was able to overwhelm the Taoist lord with a backhand. Has the power of an emperor. She has practiced for 10,000 years, and now she can beat the emperor. If Jian Wushuang was still alive, she believed, he would be much stronger than her. After recalling the past, she raised her head and glanced at Yang Dingtian. Instead of answering the question just now, she stood up calmly. They are coming. And Yang Dingtian suddenly became alert. But can't feel anything. When he saw the figure in the void in the distance, the attacks also spread overwhelmingly. Boom. No, it's the stone formation. Yang Dingtian shouted angrily, and the protective shield exploded immediately. A huge golden bell fell, protecting him and Jiang and I. Haha, 10,000 times divine body. I thought it could resist my stone-throwing array. A wild laughter sounded, and the Moon Shadow Emperor held a crescent-shaped sharp blade and slowly landed. There are several figures around. Each of them is the strongest among Daojun. TSK, last time 3 people were not allowed. This time only the 2 of you are here. Jiang Nishu pointed. It revealed an emperor hiding in the void behind him. Force the other party to show up. As expected of a quasi-immortal emperor, your sword energy has become much stronger. The figure that appeared in the void smiled indifferently. His aura is similar to that of the Moon Shadow Emperor, also at the 3rd level. The strength is extremely powerful. Although it failed to rank in the top 10 in Gyuding, it was still possible to hang a tail. It's only inferior to Moon Shadow Emperor. Brotherkin 9, don't talk nonsense with her, do it directly. Moon Shadow Emperor couldn't bear it anymore. Jiang and I has always been a rock in his heart, and if he doesn't take it off for a day, he won't be able to breathe. When Qin Jiu heard the words, he stopped talking nonsense and made a move immediately. Break the decision. Swish. The Moon Shadow Emperor also came instantly, at the same time sent a sound transmission to Jian Wushuang and the others. Go and trap Yang Dingtian. This man has many tricks and is very cunning. Don't let him run away now. I must hold him back, and I will deal with him after I have dealt with immortal Emperor Zhuan. Yes. The crowd also dispersed one after another, surrounding the entire island. Jian Wushuang is also among them. He kept looking at Jiang and I. Just deal with not being able to detect him. This little girl can do it. She has mastered the ultimate swordsmanship, and she is not in the slightest against 2 big and 3rd-rank emperors. Xiang Yang couldn't help but praise. Jiuchen smiled wryly, and said, Why do I feel that this ultimate way is a bit cheap? You and this little girl have both mastered the ultimate way. Only the one who walks is Wandao. Although the strengths are similar, the ultimate way is more pure. The road between the two of you will be easier in the future. Chapter 6442. This kind of thing has something to do with talent, so you can't be envious. Xiangyang raised his head and smiled. Jian Wushuang never spoke. Xiangyang and Jiuchen just saw Jiang Ni's ultimate swordsmanship. Although they knew it a long time ago, after seeing it, the two were still surprised by Jiang Ni's combat power. Only Jian Wushuang discovered that Jiang Ni was not simply the ultimate swordsmanship. Originally, he thought that Jiang Ni would hold the ultimate sword of life at most. The fusion of life and sword forms the ultimate way. But I didn't expect that the other party actually realized the complete way of life, plus the complete ultimate sword. These are the two ultimate ways. That's not all. Jiang Ni actually realized the way of death. The same as the ultimate way. The fusion of the three has reached the point where they are on the verge of joining together. Suddenly realized three ultimate ways. This completely exceeded Jian Wushuang's expectations. He has been walking on the world god continent for some years. I have also encountered many Tianjiao in time and space. For example, Huiqing, the Zen machine that he realized at the beginning, is also very special in the ultimate way. There is also Shang, he is also the ultimate way. In time and space, Tianjiao, who can understand the two ultimate ways, has never been seen among his peers, but there are among his predecessors. Back then, the old man Tiansong understood the two ultimate ways. This is the most talented person he has encountered in northern time and space. Except himself, of course. Then, after traveling for millions of epochs in the realm god continent, he met even more Tianjiao. There are a lot of ultimate ways, and there is nothing unusual at all. After all, the children of a family like Xiangyang are also the ultimate way, and they don't even pay much attention to it within the family, and they still have to rely on their own efforts to obtain relatively equal resources. So the ultimate way is in the realm god continent. At most it can be regarded as an ordinary arrogance, and it is just a stepping stone to become a strong one. But Tianjiao, who realized the two ultimate ways, is different. That's really less. In a high-level world, it is already very good to have a practitioner of the ultimate way. In a universe, if the background is good, there will be thousands of Taoist monarchs of the ultimate way. Dijuan is hard to say. Some universes don't even have an ultimate emperor. Jieshan continent has relatively higher aptitude. In some different universes, there are countless years, and there are naturally many ultimate ways. But it is also twice as much as the ordinary universe. Among the Taoists of the same era, there are only about 1,000 people in a universe. But among the 1,000 ultimate Taoist monarchs, the probability of monks who can realize two ultimate ways is almost zero. Out of thousands of universes, one or two may appear. World God continent, too many dare not say. At the same time, it is already very good to have 1,000 Taoists who have realized the two ultimate ways. Of course, after countless years of accumulation, there will definitely be many strong people with dual ultimate ways above the Taoist monarch. But even so, once he realizes the two ultimate ways, he will definitely be accepted by the God of the universe himself, and bestow the most powerful treasure of harmony. It will also be arranged to enter the universe of the universe God. It will be revived after failure. Reviving the Tao Lord is easy for the universe God, but it is difficult to resurrect the ultimate Tao Lord. An ultimate way, the master of the universe will be injured, and it will be serious. Two ultimate ways, the Lord of the universe cannot be resurrected at all. Cosmic gods need to consume a huge amount of divine power to revive each other. The divine power consumed, converted into treasures, is enough to cultivate a master of the universe in the seven tribulations realm. Such a large resource was given to Daojun. This is the value of mastering the two ultimate ways. Of course, it is not infinite resurrection. At most 2 times. If you fail both times, then there is really no hope. There used to be rumors that a 7-star cosmic helped his family's junior Taoist join the Tao, and he was resurrected 19 times. In the end, the Taoist himself felt embarrassed, directly shattered his consciousness, and destroyed himself. The Daojun of the Two Ultimate Ways is still like this. Once the Taoist lords of the Three Ultimate Ways are released, they will be snatched up by the Cosmos God to accept them in the Realm God continent. Because in the entire Jieshan continent, among the Taoist monarchs of my colleagues, there are at most 2 or 3 Taoist monarchs who can realize the Three Ultimate Ways. Jian Wushuang has encountered it before. And that is the Taoist lord in a certain space-time secret territory in the southeast region of the Jieshan continent. His talent is the strongest that Jian Wushuang has encountered. Even compared to the original self, I am convinced. Because that Taoist lord, when he was on the verge of joining the Tao, his divine body had already increased by 100,000 times. The original combat power alone can rival the robbery. There are many opportunities in his body, just the opportunities of the God of the universe. There are several kinds of opportunities. He is also a direct descendant of the cosmic God family. After mastering the Three Ultimate Ways, he was directly recommended by the family cosmic God to an extremely powerful 8-star cosmic God, and became the direct disciple of that cosmic God. At the beginning, Jian Wushuang passed by that cosmic God's territory, and because he was an 8-star cosmic God, he took the initiative to make friends with him, and only then did he meet that peerless genius. I also feel extremely admirable. Although his own extreme way is extremely special, it can become stronger as it progresses, and the role of assisting the left in the early stage is greater. The ultimate way is different. This is the ultimate series, the strongest way. The combat power naturally increased very quickly. Now I see that Jiang and I has mastered the Three Ultimate Ways. Can't help but be happy for her. Her talent is not weaker than Jiang Shang, nor is she weaker than the goddess of ancient moon time and space. Even stronger than Huiqing. Although Huiqing is now the of the universe, the road ahead is probably going to be difficult. At the beginning, he was able to keep pace with him, but it became very difficult in the later stage. Becoming the 7-star cosmic God is already the pinnacle, and reaching the final chapter of the cosmic God is the limit. God of time and space. That is a bottleneck that can change the quality of a monk even more than joining the Tao. It is too difficult for the cultivators of Jieshan continent to break through this bottleneck. Except for those natural masters of the universe, and even the natural gods of the universe, it is as difficult for a mortal to ascend to the sky to become a spacetime simply by cultivating from a weak point. Huiqing's chances are slim, but his daughter Jiang and I has great potential. The Three Ultimate Ways complement each other. As long as the Tao is successful, what the Emperor cultivates is the foundation of the divine body. As long as there are treasures. After becoming the master of the universe, the main thing to face is the divine calamity. The catastrophe in the universe is not difficult for monks of the ultimate way. What's more, Jiang and I is also the controller of the Three Ultimate Ways. The biggest problem to face is actually a divine robbery. This is the same as Jian Wushuang. They all face God's calamity. Jiang and I, let me personally test your current strength. Jian Wushuang dared to think of making a move. At this time, the surrounding sky suddenly shrank and began to change. There is a treasure coming. Everyone was shocked, and then quickly backed away. But the flickering light surrounded hundreds of millions of miles around, and it would take time to escape. What's going on? Emperor Moonshadow asked in surprise. Is it the treasure of chaos? When they reacted, a huge light shone on the sky and the earth. Chapter 64-47. Returning to the ground again, he didn't alarm anyone. Just carefully reminded Jiuchen and Xiangyang, who were looking at the abyss with their heads hooked. They led them away from the edge of the abyss. The corridors are wide. They entered the main city of the corridor on the 99th floor, and stayed temporarily, waiting for the person following to appear. In fact, the three of them have seen the person in the ancient gate. It was the Emperor Duobao who held the auction. He is also a disciple of Emperor Moonshadow. The result is unclear with the Holy Land. Of course, the other party has no connection with the Holy Land. The reason I came here was to meet someone. Ling Xiaoboy. The opponent has entered the Holy Land since his rebellion. Within a few days, under the guise of visiting the Abyss, I came to the corridor on the 99th floor of the Abyss world and met with Emperor Duobao. All of this is under Jian Wushuang's observation. It's just that he didn't know what the two of them talked about. Because when they met, both of them entered the ancient gate. Jian Wushuang could detect the breath in the ancient gate, but he couldn't detect what the other party said. Obviously shielding time and space. Being able to shield time and space is not the function of the ancient gate. There is a high probability that there are some treasures inside that Jian Wushuang doesn't know. But judging from Ling Xiaoboi's respectful attitude when the two met, Emperor Duobao has a higher status. Treasures are also the most. In order not to startle the snake, Jian Wushuang didn't act immediately. Instead, after the two met, he quietly followed Boy Ling Xiao into the mansion of the other party. Late at night, inside the hall where Boy Ling Xiao was located, it was extremely dark but the atmosphere was strong. Slap. Jian Wushuang didn't hide anything and walked directly to Ling Xiaoboy. The other party also noticed it immediately and got up quickly. Who are you? Who I am is not important. Who you are is important to me. After speaking, Jian Wushuang raised his hand to suppress the surrounding space. Not only blocked the other party's way to escape, but also blocked all means related to the alternation of mind power. In other words, the other party complained that every day was not working and that they should not. It will not disturb Emperor Duobao. What are you going to do? I'm telling you that you'd better not act recklessly, or you will die, and no one can save you. Boy Ling Xiao kept backing away while still contacting Emperor Duobao. But he found that his voice could not be heard at all. In the end, he could only give up. Looking at Jian Wushuang, he took a deep breath and then threatened. Do you know who I am? Do you know what kind of power is behind me? If you dare to touch me, you will definitely die terrible. I can move you, but you have to come up with enough power to threaten my life first. Jian Wushuang stood where he was, waiting for the opponent to raise the banner. If it is done well, maybe he will really let the other party die. But if it's not good, don't blame him for being rude. He didn't mind. He took the other party's head to look for Emperor Duobao. Even if the opponent has some kind of backhand, he can forcibly take down the opponent by arranging 5 golden puppets. The only worry is that the other party has some kind of restraint, will choose to blow himself up, and will not let him be captured alive. The matter is so important that Jian Wushuang dare not be careless. Please start your performance. Jian Wushuang easily grasped Boy Ling Xiao. As long as the other party dares to have any small thoughts, he can kill the other party's soul immediately. This is the special place of the soul secret method. Can kill invisible. If it wasn't for the fact that the other party's soul was guarded by treasures, and because it was the emperor, he could have performed the soul search, and then changed into the appearance of Ling Xiaoboy, entered the Holy Land undercover, and then contacted the Emperor Duobao. That is the most perfect. Just kill me. Ling Xiaoboy's face suddenly changed, seeking death. The sudden toughness made Jian Wushuang a little unaccustomed to it. Why are you so willing to die for the God Eye clan? You don't even know what a great terror is. Boy Ling Xiao sneered. Jian Wushuang frowned, which was not a trouble for the pair. Since you want to die, let the other party die. The soul retracts, Ling Xiaoboy's soul suddenly burst out of the god's body, turned into a small ball, and began to shrink continuously. In the process of shrinking, Ling Xiaoboy also entered the illusion. In front of his eyes, Jian Wushuang disappeared, and Emperor Duobao appeared instead. Brother Duobao, save me. Boy Ling Xiao began to ask Jian Wushuang for help as if he was sleepwalking. Jian Wushuang raised his hand and said, I have saved your soul. He took advantage of the other party's weak state of mind and cast an illusion. Let Ling Xiaoboy obediently enter the trap set by him. Thus, in the consciousness of the other party, the so-called secret was explored. Emperor Duobao. It has already been taken away. This secret is also a novelty. As for the person who seized the house, Tongzi Ling Xiao didn't know very well, but a new title appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Void. Emperor Duobao comes from the void. It is a monster in the void. Jian Wushuang frantically searched his mind, trying to find something about the void. In this world he has never heard of it. But in Jieshan continent, I once heard a rumor. After the realm god continent was shattered, some powerful people were trapped in some fragments. And these fragments eventually evolved into the void interlayer, which is also a part of the void. Gradually, these people couldn't get out of the broken pieces, and they began to sink completely and merged into the void. If that was the case, no one from the outside world would know that there were a large number of mutated monks gathered in the void. But later, with the re-establishment of Jieshan continent, those guys who sank in the void came out. It also brought a lot of troubles to the newly built realm god continent. But it's just some troubles, after all. How many strong people can there be in the gaps in the void? In any case, the god continent has 9-star cosmic gods when it is weakest, and it is still very easy to clean up those fallen void monks. There are void monks in Jieshan continent, so there are also in this world. After all, they are all broken world god continents. Speaking of which, this world was once part of the realm god continent. It can even be said that this world exists in the void. So there is emptiness, don't be surprised. It's just that after entering this world, it's the first time he's heard of it. Also, it was a little different from what he thought. I thought it was related to the Godai clan. Unexpectedly, the void was also involved. Compared with the Godai clan, void is more wronged. He was obviously a victim at the beginning, but he entered the fragments and was assimilated by the void. Even if he could break through and enter the realm god continent later, he would still be regarded as a monster, because these void monks have already been contaminated with the breath of world beasts. Will devour monks. Belongs to the real devil. Almost like a monster, those void cultivators who appeared on the realm god continent were all killed in the end. They are different from monsters in that they have the memories of the past, but they cannot control their devouring. Chapter 64-48. In the end, they were beheaded one by the strong men of the new territory god continent. A stepping stone for newcomers. Void cultivator, how pitiful. But this has nothing to do with Jian Wushuang. There is void behind Duobao. But why do you want to help the Lord? Jian Wushuang was a little curious in his heart. In other words, it wasn't the Holy Master who helped, but simply wanted the entire ancient world to fight among themselves, and then take the opportunity to devour it. This is not impossible. He sent a voice transmission to Jiuchen, and asked something about void. From Jishin's mouth, I learned that the void had appeared. Back then, the Lord of Divine Fire had encountered quite a few, but the strength is very weak. If you want to become stronger, you need to control some big worlds, and then devour all the monks, instill all their practice accumulation into a divine body, and use a big world to raise an extremely strong man. Then the two will reconcile to devour more worlds, until they become the master of the universe. But this is too difficult. Often when the second or even the third seed is devoured, it will be detected by the Lord of the universe, and it will not escape the fate of being beheaded. After all, if void wants to become the master of the universe, it must first devour the origin of the universe. Although there are not many masters of the universe in this world, but the scope of exploration of the Lord of the universe is too large. As far as the current universe is concerned, there may be more than one master of the universe, but each of them can explore this universe. Void may have just appeared before being beheaded, but when devouring the first world, because it is too weak, it will not be detected, unless there is a master of the universe who has been detecting the entire universe. The chances of this are too small. If you really want to meet, it can only be said that the void cultivator is too unlucky. Void. Jian Wushuang was a little disappointed. He thought he had something to do with the Godai clan, but it turned out to be void, and lost all interest in an instant. But they still asked the details about Emperor Duobao one by one. From the void is the representation of the void. As for Boiling Xiao, he was just a puppet of Emperor Duobao. There is a mark of void in the soul. Once the secret of Duobao is told, the soul will be killed. Even soul searchers will be exterminated. Only in the face of void cultivator can he tell the truth. Whether Jian Wushuang is in the illusion or in reality, he can achieve the breath of a void monk. Immediately tore off the slow formation, and his whole body turned into the appearance of a void monk. Ling Xiao, where did the Holy Master go? The sluggish Ling Xiao said dully. The Holy Master has fallen. What is the purpose of Emperor Duobao next? Does he have anything to do with the Godai clan? Emperor Duobao asked me to start a dispute in the Holy Land, to fight Gu Ting. I haven't heard Emperor Duobao mention the Godai clan. I only know that he got a treasure of the Godai clan in the Void of Chaos. This can also explain the fact that the opponent was able to summon the puppets of the Godai clan before. After asking the final value, he spared the other party's life. Not because he is soft-hearted, but because it is useless to kill. On the contrary, it will make Emperor Duobao suspicious. The opponent's goal is to devour the ancient world, which has nothing to do with him. But the treasures on Emperor Duobao are of some use to him. The divine blood has been used up. If Emperor Duobao still has a lot of divine blood on his body, he will be able to mass-produce some golden armored puppets by virtue of his transformation to become the of the universe of the Godai clan. There is no top combat power around him, which has always made him feel insecure. If he really meets a Protoss monk, he will not be able to suppress the opponent at that time. It's okay if the combat power is extremely high, the siege can win. More than 3 turns will be difficult. They are comparable to the Lord of the Universe, and no amount of golden armored puppets may be of any use. It seems that the treasure has to be pressed on Jiang and I. Jian Wushuang sighed from the bottom of his heart. He didn't expect Jiang and I to be so powerful, and it was a surprise. But letting this little niece work for him is more or less embarrassing. Sometimes you still have to cultivate your own power. Such as Void Monk. He was quite interested in it. If the master of the universe of the Void family is cultivated, he will create a microcosm for the other party to devour, and he can directly become a demigod. After all, each microcosm is an ultimate cosmic body. The most perfect universe is almost comparable to the origin of the universe God. He has a formless body, which can help the opponent cover up everything, to confuse the Lord of the Universe. Void. The figure of Jian Wushuang left from the other courtyard. He took Xiang Yang and Jiuchen, left the Abyss world, and headed towards Guting world in the opposite direction. During the few years of silence, the ancient world has changed even more. The Holy Land counterattacked and regained its original territory. Now the two sides are split 50-50 again. The fight also intensified. At the same time, the news of the Holy Master's fall was also released. This made the originally decadent Gu Ting powerhouse suddenly aroused a raging fighting spirit. The first frontier battlefield is the covered world that was broken a few years ago. This place has become the first battlefield of the domain war. There will be big fights every day. It is even more common for Daojun to participate in the battle. The emperor who was imprisoned before personally sits on this battlefield. But this time he brought an innate treasure. One person suppressed the 9th and 3rd rank emperors and beat them violently. If Duke Long hadn't stood up to him, he would have been beaten through long ago. Both sides are still reserved at present, and the emperor does not easily fight. Daojun became the main force. Daily battles are formed in small teams and fight each other. Of course, with the intensity of a certain battle, more Dao lords will be invested, leading to an escalation of the battle. It can be said that 3 days a small big, 5 days a big fight. There can be more than 1,000 Taoist monarchs participating in the battle at the same time. One can imagine how tragic it was. Even so, the two sides are still fighting fiercely, and both have the confidence to swallow the other side. After all, it is an advantage for the 3 emperors of the Holy Land to join forces to deal with Gu Ting. Gu Ting can only hold together. Now both sides are looking for opportunities and ways. At the same time, it is also waiting for the backhand. For example, the peerless Taoist that Gu Ting just recruited, Jiang and I. She was personally recruited by Duke Long into Guting, and she is currently practicing in Guting. But not for harmony, but to understand the way of life. Once the source of life is promoted to the Taoist consummation, and the dual ultimate Taoism is complete, Jiang and I's combat power can soar to the peak. At that time, the entire holy place will be swept away. If it wasn't for Jian Wushuang's previous temptation to make Gu Ting cautious, I'm afraid Jiang and I would lead Gu Ting to sweep the Holy Land now. Jian Wushuang went to Guting this time not because of Jiang and I, Jiang Inai's current strength is still not enough. Still needs a temper. It won't be too late to meet him when he leaves the ancient world. He is now looking for Emperor Duobao. According to Ling Xiaoboy, Emperor Duobao has returned to Gyuding. Jian Wushuang was going to ambush in Gyuding, waiting for the opponent. Not directly, but to wait for Emperor Duobao to attack the entire ancient world. At that time, he will find the right opportunity to suppress a complete void cultivator. Chapter 6449. Then enslave the opponent, help the opponent devour the origin of the universe, and become the master of the universe. When the time comes to devour the microcosm, that is the superpower of the demigod limit. At that time, let alone the 4th rank, the 5th rank and the 6th rank can help him suppress it. At that time, he can sprint the origin of the king-level beast. Beast King, the predecessor of the God King. It is an existence that is qualified to open up the starry sky. There are probably not many in Discord. At that time, his strength will surpass that of the prophet in memory, and even be stronger. In the future he can also help teacher Xuani. He didn't want to die again. Boundary. A flying boat shuttled through the turbulent current, acting strangely. In the turbulent current, the flying boat ran here and there, but never crossed the border. From the perspective of outsiders, it is like going around in circles. Have you found it yet? Report to the general. The location of the void gate is often moved, and it is normal to find it. You just need to try again and again, and you will always find it. Feizhou, a void soul body wearing a black battle armor, shouted angrily. One try, how long will it take to try? This time entering the void gate is the only chance to break through the cage that has been hidden for hundreds of millions of years. We have been waiting, it's been a long time. Don't let the seniors in the void down. You must find the gate of the void quickly. Yes, the soul body operating the flying boat agreed again and again, and then continued to maneuver the flying boat to find the gate of the void. Their luck was very good. After hundreds of thousands of trials, they finally found the gate of the void, and the entire spaceship quietly sank into a black hole. Immediately the black hole disappeared, and the turbulent flow was still the same piece of turbulent flow. Not long after, another flying boat shuttled through the turbulent flow. Inside the cockpit of the airship, Jian Wushuang stood in front of the transparent window sill, looking at the turbulent flow. Good guy, these void cultivators are really brave, and the secret door is hidden here. When heading to Gyuding, he encountered a strange flying boat, and followed it all the time. A strange flying boat, a strange monk. It's all about the void unexpectedly. They really met a big fish, who blocked their face and entered the void. Jian Wushuang can completely open the void gate. But after opening, there is no way to get in. At most those void monks were killed. The ancient world is very small, and there are gaps in the void of the ancient world. Presumably the monks who lived there back then were no better than there. At most it is the 5th or 6th rank emperor. Such a small place is basically unable to accommodate the most powerful people. Even if it carries the peak of the void, and does not have a divine body, its combat power is still very weak. It's not Jian Wushuang's opponent at all, but there's no need to do it now. It's better to remotely control everything behind your back, and be a fruit picker. Shall we go in? Jiuchen asked. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Now is not the time for him to perform. Let's go to Gyuding, just to see Jiang and I. Her second ultimate way is probably about to be completed. Now I just need to be responsible for watching the show. Because it's not worth his shot. Unless it is a strong Godai clan. Just like in the mortal world, he hardly made a move. Especially after his strength became stronger and stronger. Every shot is either a matter of great importance, or a crisis. Otherwise it will not be shot. The flying boat passed through the covering battlefield, and entered the 36 ancient domains controlled by Gyuding. Jian Wushuang and his party also arrived at the base camp where Guting was located. Ancient domain star. This ancient world is an ancient star. Although it is a star, it is huge. The north and south are numerous, larger than the average ancient world. If you are a monk in the Mahayana period, You will need to fly for 100,000 years to cross the entire ancient star. It is rumored that this is the core of the ancient world. There is great opportunity here, but it has been occupied by heaven. Even the original Holy Master had nothing to do with this place. So no one dared to pay attention to this place. Part of the reason why Jian Wushuang insisted on coming this time was because of Gaiuxing. This place can block the Holy Lord of the 6th level combat power, but it cannot stop him. Floating outside the ancient domain star, the guardian Yunhai behind him respectfully introduced, "Pavilion Master, it is very troublesome to enter the ancient domain star. You need to pay a deposit and check your identity information. If the identity information does not exist in the ancient domain world, you need to pay a higher security deposit." The control is quite strict. Jian Wushuang raised his head and glanced at the flying boats in the void behind him. With a thought, a flying boat that was flying normally disappeared into the void in an instant. The flying boats next to it flew by one after another, and no one noticed this weird scene. Jian Wushuang stretched out his palm, and the flying boat outside just now was floating in his palm. Watching this scene, Guardian Yunhai and others were all shocked. Even Jiuchen was surprised when he saw this scene. "This is the ultimate control of the space," Jiuchen exclaimed. He has seen the demigod powerhouse, the Lord of Divine Fire. It is also an existence that has mastered space for a long time, but compared with Jian Wushuang's methods just now, the Lord of Shenhua seems a little rusty. There is no way. The original universe of the Lord of Divine Fire is probably at most 1,000 times the size of the universe. And Jian Wushuang was almost out of time and space at the beginning. The foundation is 100,000 times the origin of the universe. 100,000 times the origin of the universe is the cosmic god at the peak of 9 stars. Among the 9-star cosmic gods, Jian Wushuang is now invincible. Of course, it all depends on the will of the realm beast. Now the whole person has become a realm beast, and once he returns to his peak, he will be able to surpass the cosmic god. I dare not say that it is comparable to the god of time and space, at least part of the strength of the god of time and space. After all, he has only seen one god of time and space, and the other party has not yet made a move, so naturally he does not know the true strength of god of time and space. After becoming the master of the world beast, Jian Wushuang also had a unique insight into the excavation space of Yuan. The upper limit will only get higher in the future. "Are the 6 of you going to visit the ancient domain star together?" he asked. Guardian Yunhai and the others were suddenly flattered. Seeing the appearance of everyone, Jian Wushuang was not stingy, and directly took out 9 flesh bodies from the flying boat in his palm. They all have the identity of true immortals, and there is their identity information inside. Take a look, and use the identity of this group of people later. "Thank you, Pavilion Master." The 6 guardians of Yunhai were very grateful. Although they have leapt to the top of combat power now, they still lack a lot in knowledge. They also want to see how the ancient domain star is doing. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently and said, "You keep calling me Pavilion Master, but I haven't established a decent force. I've been called by you like this all the time. I'm really interested. Good seedlings who practice swords, build a sword pavilion that respects the sword." Pavilion Master Wushuang will definitely spread his reputation throughout the universe. This made Xiang Yang and Jiuchen pinch their noses and complain. Jian Wushuang was blown away by you. Dear, click to enter. Give a good review. The higher the score, the faster the update. It is said that those who gave Xiangshu novels full marks finally found beautiful wives. Newly revised and upgraded address of the mobile station. Data and bookmarks are synchronized with the computer station, and there is no advertisement for fresh reading. Chapter 6450. The 9th teleportation formation of Guyu Star. Stop the flying boat ahead. A Taoist in black armor said in a dignified tone. On the chest of the battle armor, there is also the word General. This is the general of the heavenly soldiers in Gyuding. With the combat power of a Taoist monarch, he has an army of 10,000 immortals under his command. As the name suggests, it is 10,000 true immortals. At the same time, There is a preparatory camp for true immortals, with millions of Mahayana monks, constantly replenishing the true immortals under his command. Of course, it is impossible for all the heavenly soldiers to be 9-step true immortals. The heavenly soldiers who can become 9-step true immortals also have positions in the heavenly court. For example, among the heavenly soldiers, there may be a commanding position. Even a great commander can have a commander of 5,000 heavenly soldiers. This is just the strongest among the heavenly soldiers in the ancient court. In addition to the heavenly palace where the heavenly soldiers are located, there are Dan Palace, Taoist Palace, Immortal Palace, Secret Palace, and so on. After all, after hundreds of thousands of years of development, Gyuding has an absolutely perfect system. Take the generals in the Temple of Heaven as an example. Each general is equivalent to an individual. You can raise your own heavenly soldiers by yourself. No, such a fat job in the 9th teleportation formation fell into the hands of the general of Tiandian. You must know that the margin charged every day is an astronomical figure. After intercepting a flying boat, the general stepped forward to question him personally. Because there are 3 Taoist monarchs in this flying boat, he needs to come forward in person. If it is one, he doesn't need to come forward. Swish! The flying boat stopped, and 9 figures appeared. The leader is a very noble young man, who is holding a fan in his hand. General Li, long time no see. The noble young master in charge took the initiative to greet him. 3,000 years have passed since the last farewell. After seeing that he was an acquaintance, General Li also relaxed a lot, and said calmly, I haven't seen you for a while. Brother Shengguan has improved a lot in strength over the years. This time, it is possible that he is sure to break through the 7th floor. Upstairs. I have some experience. I want to try it. You know, my father just. Shengguan sighed. General Li's expression became more serious when he heard this, and he said, Shengguan, I've also heard about your father. I didn't expect this war to be so severe, even the emperor. But don't worry. We all support you to take over the position of Jiang'a Pavilion Master. With the support of a few of our old brothers, that white-eyed wolf will never succeed. Upon hearing this, Shengguan said excitedly, At the critical moment, I still have to rely on you. It's not a big deal. I was also a member of the Jiang'a back then. The old pavilion master has passed away, but the mantle of the pavilion master is still there, and so are all the senior brothers. General Li said, patting his chest. After exchanging pleasantries for a while, Shengguan took out a mustard seed and said, Senior brother Li, we will go in first. See you Guyu Sheng. Kindness. General Li took the mustard seeds without hesitation. This is the rule. Even if you kiss me, you have to give a deposit. Because the money can be refunded. But before withdrawing, they can be used. If there is no money to return, take out the warrant as collateral. Otherwise, how would he feed his 10,000 heavenly soldiers and 1,000,000 reserve battalions? Shengguan and his party entered the teleportation array and disappeared instantly. The reappearance has already reached the ancient domain star. In the ancient domain star there is only one city, but it covered more than half of the ancient stars. Out of the city is the wilderness, with all kinds of monsters. There are emperor levels. The reason why it was not completely suppressed was because the monks had to be tempered. This approach of the Lord of the Ancient Court is very good, leaving some threats, which can even stimulate the potential of the monks. Tianyong City, very familiar name. The reason for taking this name is because there are still 9 days floating above Tianyong City. This is Gyuding. 9 heavens. Only monks from Gyuding can enter the 9 heavens. The 9th floor is also the ninefold. The real Jichangshan is the birthplace of Gyuding. If you want to go to the 9 heavens, you must become an emperor. Otherwise, you are not qualified to go to the 9 heavens. The first 8 weights are fine. Apart from the requirement of identity, there is no requirement of realm. Some descendants of emperors, even if they did not become true immortals, could go to the 8th heaven to practice. In the entire 9 heavens, starting from the first level, with each level up, the aura of the world's origin will be doubled. At the 9th level, apart from the Holy Land, it is the place with the strongest origin in the entire ancient moon world. Of course, compared with the origin of the universe, It is many times worse. In Tianyong City, Jian Wushuang and others walked out of a certain teleportation array in Nancheng. Brother Wushuang, I have to say that your acting skills are still good. I just had such a hot chat with Brother Li. I thought you were taken away by this consciousness of identity. Xiangyang couldn't help but praise. Jian Wushuang smiled and said, I have absorbed all Shengguan memories. I know everything he experienced. Of course, I can mobilize all emotions. Naturally, the other party can't see any problems. The 9 people who were in the 9th teleportation formation before were Jian Wushuang and his group. The identity he chose, apart from not being able to go to the 9 days, he can walk anywhere at will. If you choose a weak chicken identity, you will be timid to enter the ancient domain star. That's why I chose the identity of Shengguanyu. As for the original owner, he was thrown into the origin of the universe on the 3rd floor of the 9 prison tower. He only searched the other party's soul and read the other party's memory. The rest will need a physical body. The original soul consciousness is also thrown into the origin of the universe. This is considered a forced transaction. However, after the other party entered the origin of the universe, he has readily accepted it. Maybe after a while, it is not impossible for an emperor to appear. Pavilion Master, there are 3 treasures in this ancient domain star. One is the ancient building, the second is the 9 heavens, and the third is the cellar. Jian Wushuang nodded and said, I know that there is the origin of the world in the ancient building, which can test the strength of the school Taoist. Needless to say, Jichangshan, it is the 3rd cellar, you have to go and see. He has absorbed Shengguanye's memory, and is very familiar with the entire Guyu star. After all, the Shengguanyu in his memory grew up in the Guyu star since he was a child. He is the eldest son of an emperor in the ancient court. The strength is the peak Taoist, a Taoist who is stronger than the double-faced Buddha. 5,000 times the divine body. The original source is already on the edge of the Tao, and the original source is the 2nd grade. Once the Tao is successful, there will be a 2nd-tier emperor, and after practicing the world's origin, you can quickly become a 3rd-tier emperor. To be precise, Shengguanyu is a proud man. Unfortunately, before Tianjiao became a real strong man, his father died. Shengguanxian, the owner of the Jianga Pavilion in Gyuding. There are 2 sword pavilions in Gyuding, one is Emperor Yueying, and the other is Shengguanxian. On the contrary, Shengguanxian's strength is not as good as Moon Shadow Emperor. He was originally suppressed, but now Shengguangshuan has fallen, and Emperor Yueying also returned from the battlefield, because the war is about to break out. He wants to swallow the sword pavilion built by Shengguangshuan, increase his own power, and gain the greatest benefit in the next war. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.